Hello, welcome, hello, and welcome. Thanks for joining us this evening. I'm Dan, your friendly fishmonger at dansfish.com. We do this every Wednesday at 7 Mountain Time. That's 9 Eastern for those who might be mountain challenged. Hope you're all having a wonderful Wednesday. We're going to start with our shipping report, kind of, shipping report light, and then we'll get to a giveaway and get to your questions and comments. And we might cut it a little bit short tonight. I'm not quite sure. We do have an import coming in tonight, so it's going to be an all-nighter, and I want to make sure we have everything finalized and prepped for that. So we'll see. We'll play it by feel here a little bit. But hello, welcome, shipping report. So I don't have a calculated shipping report for you. It's been a crazy day, and I forgot to ask the person who does that earlier today to do it. So 5 minutes ago, I was like, hey, can you get that done real quick? And he probably hasn't even got the message yet. But I calculated it myself. I don't know the 12-month total. I don't know the 6-month running total. But what I do know is that we're well under 1% losses since I talked to you last week. There have been a few, of course. Anytime you ship large numbers of fish, you're going to get a few. But less than 1%. And that's our goal. We want 99+% of our fish to arrive alive and hale and hearty to our customers. And we did that this week. So I'm going to count the win. My mic wants to turn to its side. Maybe that's okay. Here, go like that. There we go. Now it can do what it wants and be pointed in more or less the right direction. So shipping report is good. I will have hopefully the 12-month running total for you next week. I'm planning on streaming next week, but I do have to take off for the Keystone Clash, so I'm not quite sure exactly what that travel schedule is, but I think I can still stream next week. For those who don't know what the Keystone Clash is, it is this. It's an extravaganza of fish nerdiness that is going to be in Morgantown, PA. And hope to see you there. It's going to be an awesome show. This is an event that's gone on for a long time, and I've been a fan of for a long time. They've done a lot of killy stuff over the years. Hey, is that Eric Bodrock? I recognize that guy. I'm going to have the privilege of speaking there this coming week. So a lot of travel this coming week. I will post a link down in the chat to get you there easily. So if you want to learn more about the Keystone Clash, the events, the speakers, everything going on, check that out. If you're in the area, I'd love to meet you. I'm going to be giving 2 different presentations. I'll also be on a panel, so I'll be around a lot. And how I do these events is I'm there to learn. I'm there to geek out and learn and absorb. So when I'm not speaking, I'll probably be listening to the other speakers. And then when there's a break in that, I'll be hanging out with all y'all. I don't do much in the way of like auctions or the show fish, or that stuff doesn't interest me as much. I mean, I'll go around and look at some fish, but basically I'll be in all the presentations and soaking stuff up like a sponge. But if I'm not there, I'll be free to hang out. So hopefully I get to meet a lot of you. East Coast folks, it's a long trip to Wyoming. So, you know, I'll be in your neck of the woods, so I'm excited to meet as many of you as can make it. It's been a great event for years, and I have no reason to think it's not going to be even better this year. So see you there. Let's get to the giveaway. But first I want to thank Thomas G. Welcome to the Fishmonger crew. Thanks for joining up. And Kelly Foreman. Can't wait to see everyone at the Clash. I can't wait to see you, Kelly. It's going to be awesome to rub shoulders with you. Okay, the giveaway. The giveaway is for a very special fishy. This is the Diamond Tetra. Now, the Diamond Tetra comes from a special habitat. It comes from Lake Valencia in Venezuela. Lake Valencia is a large lake, the second largest lake in Valencia, and it's squished between 2 mountain ranges. And there's no outlet of that lake, which means water flows down the mountains into that lake, but no water flows out of that lake into another body of water. The reason this is significant is it has made it so that that lake and the rivers that feed it are isolated. And anytime you get isolated habitats, you get speciation. And so there's a lot of fish like this one, the Diamond Tetra that I'm showing you, that live in that lake and the waters that join it, the creeks and things that feed it from the mountains, that don't live anywhere else. They're endemic to that region, to that water system. The Diamond Tetra is one of those. This is the only place it lives. And unfortunately, that lake has been highly polluted due to human activity. It's at least 60% of the species that used to live in that lake no longer do. Over the last 70 years or so, 60% of the species have been lost. Just because the bad thing about not having any water that leaves you if you're a lake, having no outflow, is when pollutants go into you, they just get concentrated, right? So it's just like not changing your water in the aquarium. The toxins build up gradually if you don't change the water. So if there's a bunch of man-made pollution that disrupts the ecosystem and the balance, that's just going to stay in there and concentrate. So it's a really sad story. There are a couple, well, at least one population of Diamond Tetras that we know that still exists in the wild. It's not in the lake proper. It's one of the little streams that feeds into it. And Ivan Mikolji went and found that with a friend of his that guided him there, and was able to get some data from the natural habitat. So a couple interesting things about that habitat. One, the pH was 7.8, so that is a alkaline, kind of hard water environment. And the reason for that is there's some limestone in the area that hardens the water as the water flows through it. The temperature that Mikolji measured in the spot when he went was 77 degrees. Now, just because in that one spot at that time of year on that particular day it was 77 doesn't mean it's always 77. There's going to be some fluctuation. I bet it fluctuates from about 74 up to 82 different times a year. Dry season, wet season, did it rain recently or not, you know, all that stuff. But that's some data, basic water parameters that Mikolji gathered for us while he was there photographing the fish in the wild habitat. They have some predators there in that specific site with them. They have wolffish and they have pike cichlids. So they have to be a little wary. There's predators all around them. There's a couple small tetras and some I can't remember if it was guppies or gambusia as well. So that's kind of a little bit about the fish. In the aquarium, they're easy. This is a hardy tetra, and it gets big and beautiful. These get about 2.5 inches. They start out not looking like much. They start out looking like a gray, brownish, silverish fish. Let's see if I can find a picture of a juvenile here. Of course, all the pictures make them look real good. So they start out with not a lot of color or finnage or anything, but as they mature and grow, they turn into beauties with nice big fin extensions, lots of diamonds on the sides, a lot of diamond scale iridescence, nice big fin extensions. The anal fin will get even longer than that in some specimens. Just a stunning fish. Oh, look at this. Yeah, look at the extensions on this old guy. Just big extended fins. So these, even though they're close to extinct in the wild, they are bred by the fish industry. So this is another example of the industry doing some good. It's managed to preserve this species, and they're very common in the industry. The farms breed lots and lots and lots of these. So they're available, even though in the wild, they're not hardly available. So they're fairly peaceful. I think they would go well in any kind of community tank that has appropriately sized, peaceful fish. The males are going to spar and stuff, but they're fairly peaceful even for a tetra. So it's hard to go wrong with them. I think they're almost an ideal community fish, almost an ideal member of an aquarium. So, with that being said, if you would like to win a group of these, then enter. I had to do it. I was going to keep it simple, but I had to do it. Hashtag girl's best friend. Hashtag GIRLSBESTFRIEND. Caps don't matter. There's no spaces, and there's no apostrophes or punctuation or anything. Just the hashtag girl's best friend. No spaces, caps don't matter. Okay? Couldn't resist. I wonder what the algorithm's going to do with that. This guy's talking about fish, but he's also like quoting Marilyn Monroe stuff. What is going on? Todd Geis is also joined up. Thanks for becoming a member of the Fishmonger crew. Appreciate you becoming a member of the channel, Todd and Thomas. Those memberships add up, and that really does help our little company as it gets started. So much, much appreciated. Okay, that's basically what I've got for you today. It's just been a mad dash trying to get everything done. I'm finalizing preparations for my presentations at the Keystone Clash, just making sure I'm, you know, stuff, you got to refresh yourself. You got to see, last time I gave this presentation, was there a way I could have done it better? Let's make a couple changes. And then I'll be giving, so I have the shipping presentation, and then I have another one which is about building like a high-tech fish store. And that one I've never given before. So that's going to be a brand new one, debuting at the Keystone Clash. So I'm working really hard on that one, trying to make sure I've got everything I need to make it so people can follow the journey, but without a lot of redundancy. So it's not like, you know, construction pictures can get old after a while. So keeping it moving. So that's a little highlight of what you'll be seeing from me, going deep into those two topics. And then getting prepped for the import that's coming in tonight. So that's what's going on here. Let's find out what's going on with you folks. Before we do, I want to thank my moderators. Thanks for being here. I saw that Killers Aquatics and Reptiles was first in the stream, #1. And I want to thank the mods for keeping everything on track as we do these streams live, making sure that, how would you say that? If I was in Oliver Twist times, I would say, keeping out the riffraff. Something like that, but making everything work fine is really what they're doing. Shutting down the bots. Yeah. All right, with that, let's get to your questions and comments. N4279, I noticed a few white sports spots on my Amazon puffer's tail and was wondering if it was a fungal infection. If it is, what do I do about it? There's a fly in here. So if it is a fungal infection, then the first thing we try when we're treating general fungus is Icex. Icex can work fairly well. If Icex doesn't work, then malachite green in a dip can work. Methylene blue in a dip can work. There's different dips you can do as well. So I'd look into those things. But the easiest one to start with, I think, is Icex, because we generally all know how to use those treatments. So let's start with the easy stuff. #808 Beasts Playground. What is the email that I can? I'll have to wait for more 808 Beasts. Will my Amazon puffer bite and my turkey baster as the bloodworms come out, trim its teeth? I don't know. Generally, turkey basters are plastic. I'm not sure if plastic is hard enough to do much teeth trimming. But that's cute that he's doing that. That's fun. It's like a little wet puppy dog right there. Brian Radovic. Komradovich. Will the tank talk from Keystone Clash be filmed and posted? I don't know, Brian. I don't know what they're doing with that. I don't think generally they are, because I think generally speakers want to keep their talks and things in their pocket so that they can go speak at other clubs too. Like if your talk is out online, then there's less reason for a club to bring you out so you can meet them and speak at their club. So generally that's not done, but I do know that Masai does it and a few others do. I don't know what the Clash does. Passing Wind, best username ever, says, shine on you crazy diamond. Yes. There's a million song quotes, right? Lucy in the Sky, there's so many diamond quotes. We have been obsessed with diamonds for a long time, us people folk. My name is Nobody says I have a 180 gallon with an Oscar, 8 Geophagus pyrocephalus, and 9 rose-line sharks. Would you add anything else? If so, what would it be? Filtration is an FX6 and 2 aqua clear 110s. Thank you. So you've got lots of filtration on there. Well, I personally don't like the feel of a really crowded tank. I find it less relaxing. I don't know. It's almost like as the tank gets more crowded, instead of relaxing you, it makes you anxious when you watch it. Not you, but me. So I think an Oscar's going to get big. Geos are going to get good size. Roseline sharks might end up being Oscar food. I mean, you could put other fish in there, but those fish are big, and so you know, it's totally up to you. When you look at it, does it look empty to you? Let's go with this. When you look at it, does it look empty to you? If so, then yeah, totally. If not, then I would keep it as is. But I think you definitely can. I think a 180-gallon tank can take more than what you have in it. Just be aware that as those Oscars grow, I don't know how big they are, but some Oscars can go aggro, and that can be an issue. Fish out of water. I have an empty 75-gallon. Oh, the possibilities. That sounds like so much fun. And we'd like your opinion on doing shellies and crypts in that tank together. Any suggestions for mid-water fish if you think there would be room to add some? Yeah, in a 75-gallon, if it's your standard 75-gallon, then yeah, I think you could do shellies and crypts. Other options for the, I wouldn't say mid-water, but the top water, because the shellies are going to keep most things pushed up pretty high in the tank, would be Lamprichthys tanganyicanus, the Lake Tanganyikan killifish, giant danios, maybe some rainbow fish, Chilothrina, really fast genus of rainbow fish, and they tend to stay up. So maybe something like that. But yeah, I think sips would be fine. Did I say crypts before? I meant to say sips, Cyprochromis. I might have said crypts, the plant. All right. Scrolling up because chat has jumped, as it is wont to do. Okay. Here we go. Fish out of water. Oh, just got that one. Here's the next one. Chonsworth. Hey, Chonsworth. Hope you're doing well. That's funny. I read your name and I was going to say, I got to tell this guy about mountain grunners. Just checking to see if there's still any hope of any of them mountain grunners coming in before the end of the year. Loving mine, need more. There is hope. Hopefully, I'll get some end of this month. So hopefully mid-October, I'll have some available. Lizzie LaBelle. Those albino roselines, though, I'd be inclined to donate a giveaway for those when they're ready. Oh, awesome. Yeah, that sounds great. Lizzie, would you email me? hello@dancefish.com. That's HELLO@dancefish.com. Say, yeah, I'm Lizzie, and if you want to do this giveaway thing, then I can get that set up with you over email. Rochelle R. Could they be good either fish? Did you mean dither fish, Rochelle? Could they be good dither fish? Yeah, absolutely. Diamond Tetras? Sure. Sure. They'd work well. Del Cantrell. I was able to successfully send off clippings of my... Oh, okay, that's making more sense. Here's how I read this at first. I was able to successfully send off clippings of my Glossolepis wanamensis. I was like, you're clipping your rainbow fish? I was like, did you do a gill clipping? You have a lab looking at it, a fin clip for a veterinarian? What's going on? And then I saw that you're talking about your Glossolepis wanamensis mop to South Africa. Super excited to see how the eggs do. 50% green water, 85% O2, and a sponge to suck up ammonia and such. Well, I hope that goes well. Lady Rorschach, I know the quote isn't from this film, but you bringing up Miss Monroe reminds me of how much I want to rewatch Some Like It Hot, one of my favorite films. Yeah, that's a fun one. Adam's Electric Universe. Question. Would the giveaway fish benefit from a 70s disco ball suspended over the tank? Absolutely. And angel flight pants. What would they call them? Like the angel flight? Angel suit? Where the pants flared out? Not quite bell bottoms, but oh, we could do bell bottoms too. Yeah. Of course they would. Of course. And Johnny Travolta, you know, on the big screen in the same room. Survival of the fishiest. Which are the best Caridina shrimp that can thrive in neo parameters? I haven't had any problem with any shrimp surviving in any parameters as long as the environment is stable, the tank is mature, and the parameters are not going to shift. There's plenty of biofilm and algae. So when I think Neocaridina shrimp, I'm thinking like cherry shrimp. And cherry shrimp tend to come from harder, more alkaline water than your typical bee shrimp or crystal reds, things like that, which we think of as Neocaridina, or which we think of as Caridina shrimp. So Neos, cherry shrimp, Caridina, bee shrimp, roughly, right? But there are species of Caridina that come from hard alkaline water, all the stuff from Sulawesi. So if you have water that's hard and alkaline and you want a Caridina that's naturally a fit for that, then these cardinal shrimp right here are awesome. Let's go on a quick field trip, shall we? These guys. These are looking good. Our colony's exploding. And I mean, look at these. Look at all those. It's so fun to watch them with their white little hands going around and eating. But we have several Sulawesi type shrimps available, and they would all do well in that. This one's stunning, the Starry Night. It's got this really interesting lacy fine dotted pattern on it. The red lines are doing good, although I don't know why they call them red lines. They're more like a tiger or a zebra. The mini blue bees are doing fantastic. The red orchids are doing well. But this colony is exploding, as is this colony, just absolutely exploding. So Sulawesi shrimp, generally, they come from those lakes that it's pretty hard alkaline water. Michael Wentworth, hey Michael, hope you're doing well. Hashtag no more professor. Hashtag 3 times equals world peace. Hashtag Golazo. And you forgot hashtag breeding is pleasure. Michael, good to hear from you, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Hope the skies are treating you kindly. Spinster sister, I'm in love. Oh, congratulations. With my new neon guppies. So that's good too. They're deeply colored up and just like swimming neon signs. I am ordering more. Yeah, I'm glad you like them. They are beautiful little fish. Glad they're doing well. Leo 209 Aquatics, will you ever get dwarf Mexican crayfish? Are you trying to get some live food colonies going for your puffers? Just guessing. Maybe someday, but not in the near future. The way I'm regulated with Wyoming Fish and Game is, in order to do crayfish, there's a whole different series of regulations I would have to go through. Now, I can go through it. They work with me, and we could do that. But the idea of doing that right now is a little overwhelming. So the other thing is, in order for me to really do crayfish, now I know some species are more peaceful than others, but in order for me to really get into them, I'd need to set up a specialized system where I could have one per tank, almost like a flow-through betta rack system type thing. Because a lot of these guys, you kind of want to keep them separate. So there's amazing crayfish out of Papua and other places, like just stunning, knock your socks off crayfish. But I'd want to get the setup done right, and there would be quite a lot of, well, it's not, I don't want to say quite a lot, but there'd be red tape, there would be a different layer of regulation I would need to go through with Fish and Game. Snoochie Booch! Do members get a discount on the website? No, not at this time. We don't. But you can get a website by going to our affiliates, Steenfod Aquatics or The Secret History Living in Your Aquarium. If you go to their YouTube channels or to their websites and click their links, then that will get you a discount when you order. So that's a way to do it. We have some plans for the members where we have an idea we think will work, and it's not a discount, but it's something else that we're going to do for members. Rosie received rummy nose rasboras today. So beautiful, look full grown. Do you know if they're still young? Whole shipment was perfect, thank you. Yeah, I think they're still young. I don't think any of the fish we sent you were like, you know, haggard adults, but they're good sized. Yeah, that batch came in good sized. Now, exactly how old, I wouldn't know that. Nathan Hovey, I've been told that super red bristlenose are slower growers than chocolates. Huh. Would putting 3 into 55 over a 20-gallon help? What foods can help boost growth rate? Thanks. Nathan Hovey, I've not experienced that. Our super red bushies are growing like crazy. So I'm not saying it's not true, but in my experience, I have not seen it. And yeah, anytime you can put a fish in a larger tank, then they'll generally grow faster and bigger. So a 55 over a 20 would help with their growth rate. And foods, I would do a variety. I would do a mix of some protein, and then I'd rotate protein and veggies. So if you take a chunk of zucchini and have it and stick it on a fork so it sinks, and put that in the tank and have that in there at all times so they can chew on that between meals, that will help. And then for meals, I'd give like an algae wafer one day or one more in the morning, and then maybe a protein pellet at night, or vice versa. So they can graze on zucchini all day long. Plus they have like real like hefty foods twice a day. Then they'll grow real fast. Now they're going to generate a lot of waste. So keeping your water quality up is a must when you're feeding a lot like that. But sure, those plecos will eat a ton, and the larger tank, definitely, the quicker they'll grow. Okay, did we hit the bottom of the chat? Holy cow, we did. There are 233 folks here today. That's not bad. If you wouldn't mind sharing this oat? I'm a Canadian. If you wouldn't mind sharing this oat to anyone that you think might enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you wouldn't mind subscribing if you aren't, we are trying to get the channel up to 30,000 subscribers. We're on our way, and we would appreciate the help getting there. Shadow Aquatics, I've heard whiptails are very sensitive post-shipping. Also, they are fine in warmer waters, ? So there's lots of different species of whiptails, Shadow Aquatics. But generally, I think most of the whiptails we have in the hobby could go up to about 82 degrees without any problem at all, especially if your water's clean and well oxygenated, right? You don't want a lot of organic waste in there. You don't want a lot of decomp happening, because that steals oxygen away from the water. And the higher the temperature of the water, the less oxygen it can hold. So warmer water equals less oxygen for the fish. So just be aware of that. A lot of the whiptails like a decent amount of flow. So you don't have to set up like a river system or anything. You could, but there should be at least a well bubbling air stone in there on one side of the tank so they can go over if they want to be in the flow. As far as them being sensitive, I do not think so. I honestly don't. This is a supply chain issue. So if we get whiptails from certain suppliers, then yeah, they're sensitive. If we get them from other suppliers, they're rock solid. So a lot of these fish that are sensitive aren't sensitive. They've just been exposed to too much ammonia for too long during the import process, and they might not have been dewormed. So of course those fish are going to be sensitive. It doesn't mean the species is naturally sensitive. It just means that a fish that has been through that ringer is holding on for dear life, and it's going to be sensitive. So it really does come down to supply chain. But is that fish naturally sensitive? No, I think they're pretty hardy. Oh, let's see here. I missed Dragon Layer's comment. Let's see here. Did chat jump on me? Maybe I didn't reach the bottom. Hang on, where's Dragon Lair? Dragon Lair, where are you at? There you are. Oh, I missed a whole section. Okay. That's why I got to the bottom. Chat jumped and I didn't realize it. I was like, wow, look at me go. Dragon Lair, a tip for getting the best sparkle from diamonds. Get an underwater LED light and place it just below the water line on the front of the tank. Oh, I've never tried that, but I can see how that would work. Yeah. Nabokov Fan 87. Can you discuss your listing for SAEs? There's one that mentioned we think it's this, but aren't sure. There's an article from GSAS that can ID them. Second, any chance for more wild tigers? If you're asking about wild tiger barbs, yes, there's a chance, but they're very seldomly available. So when they are, though, that is one that I do think is interesting and would try. There's a couple times when I've thought about ordering them. So they've been available off and on for the last couple of years. Not often, but every now and then. But I think I was going to have to sell them for $24.99, 25 bucks each, basically. And the last time I could bring them in, I was like, 25 bucks. I just didn't think they would move at that price, so I passed. But occasionally I can get them in, yes. Okay, so you want me to talk about Siamese algae eaters. So, oh yeah. This is the one that we're not quite sure about. And the reason we're not quite sure about it is I don't know if it's going to show up in the picture, but it kind of will. It has much more iridescence above the lateral stripe there than a normal Siamese algae eater. It just looks slightly different. So it's the same genus, it behaves the same, it eats a lot of algae, but I wasn't comfortable calling it a true Siamese algae eater because I've staked my reputation on this one. This one I know is the true Siamese algae eater, and it does a great job. We've sold them from this supplier for years, and so I didn't want to muddy the waters by saying that something was a Siamese algae eater when it wasn't. So we just put the little caveat on there of this one's a little bit of a mystery. So, I mean, we try very hard to not misrepresent fish, especially ones where like, hey, this is the true one. You know, it's hard for people to find the real Siamese algae eaters. Oftentimes they end up with flying foxes or, God forbid, Chinese algae eaters and other things like that. So we're just trying to be crystal clear about it. Nathan, I forget if it's the males or females that get the big dorsal fin. Great fish. I'd love to add to my diamonds I have in a 55. Oh yeah, you've already got a batch? Cool. Rochelle says, thanks for answering my question. Hey, you're welcome. Did you miss Michael's super chat? No, I got to it eventually. I missed it temporarily, but then I found it. Thanks, Chaos Aquatics and Exotics, for bringing that to my attention. Man, I missed a ton though. N4279. Will putting ICX in my fish tank harm the other fish without the disease? So I hesitate to say no because then I feel like I'm responsible if in this case it happened to, but in my experience, no. We've used ICX on many, many, many fish for years and years and years, and I don't know of a fish that using ICX at the correct dosage would harm the fish. Now, could one exist? Sure, but I've used it on many kinds and I haven't seen that. Jacob Metzner, hey Dan, how has your new sealing machine been working? Not great. We're probably gonna have to return it and try a different model. So it's it's supposed to be adjustable height, but it's been engineered very poorly, and there's a motor on the back that, yeah, you can adjust it, but the motor sticks in and hits an arm that goes across the back support, and then you can't adjust the height just because of where they place the motor. So it has the thing, you can loosen it and make it go up and down, except for there's this piece sticking out and blocking you from doing that. So they meant for you to be able to do it, but you can't. So we can't adjust it to the right height for our bags. And the other thing is that it's kind of mangling the top of the bags and not keeping the air in very much. So it's just not, that model is not working for us. But we have another model that we think might, so we'll probably turn this one back. We're still working with the manufacturer, though, to make sure we haven't just screwed up a setting or something. But I don't think we have. But until we finish our process with them, you know, I can't say that for sure. But there's another model that we have our eye on that we're like, that one looks like it might work better. Kelly Brent Moody, suggestions for a smaller schooling fish to keep with Bosemani rainbows in a 75-gallon. Yeah, Diamond Tetras. I mean, they're 2.5 inches, but they're smaller than a Bosemani rainbow. They're big enough to hold their own. They're deep-bodied, so I think that that would be awesome. Lots of different Tetras would go well with Bosemani rainbows, so that comes to mind. You can't go too small, though. Like, I'd love to say chili rasboras or kubatai rasboras, but those are so small that a full-grown Bosemani would probably snack on them. So I think the Tetras is where I would start looking. Some of the rasboras could as well, though, like scissor-tail rasboras and things like that that get big enough. Those might work. Suff. What is the best thing to feed plecos? Variety. And it depends on the kind of pleco. So bushy nose tend to eat a lot of vegetation in their diet, but they're omnivores. They also need protein because they're getting protein in their diet in nature too. Biofilm has protein in it, and there's lots of critters in the algae that they're eating that has protein in it. And if they find a dead fish, they're going to eat that. Dead fish that's stuck on the bottom of, you know, in a rock somewhere, they're going to go eat on that too. So veggies, but mix in some protein. And I would do variety. I do some fresh veggies like zucchini. I would do maybe some canned green beans if you want. French cut's the best because they're cut lengthwise, so the skin is not surrounding the whole green bean, right? The flesh is exposed to make it easier for the pleco to get to it. Then things like algae wafers, and I would also mix in protein pellets. Really, there's no best thing. It's about variety. Then there's other plecos that are carnivores. Omnivores, but mainly carnivores, like Hypencistrus. The LO46, the famous zebra pleco, that thing is mainly a carnivore. So you want to feed those the same way, but the opposite. Maybe more protein with occasional veggies. So it just depends on which species you have. Does anyone have any Aplocalycthes spilachin? Pond puppies, I don't know of anyone that brings that in. I brought some in a few years ago, and that's the only import of that fish that I'm aware of in recent history. I would like to bring more in. They're an amazing fish. For those that don't know this, Aplocalycthes, it's these guys. They're an amazing little killifish. That's our picture of some we had a while ago. Super hardy, bright orange eyes. Does anyone capture that? I did not capture that adequately in my picture. Really, really cool eyes. And they get this pleasing, you know, vertical striping pattern and some spangling on them. Neat little lamp-eye killifish. They can take salty water, they can take fresh water. They're a hardy fish, but they're hardly ever available. Okay, now I can scroll down again. I think I caught up. What's your favorite Episto right now? Oh, it's hard with favorite. It depends on who's displaying at the moment. As I walk around the fish warehouse, sometimes the Trifasciata are displaying, and I'm like, dude! But I am drawn to the Trifasciata. Let me show you these. They're just neat. Here they are. So I like all kinds of Epistos. Like, I like all these morphs that are bright colored and beautiful, but there's something about an Episto that is just naturally stunning that I like as well. And these guys have been displaying and looking really good. So right now, today, it's probably those. Not as flashy as some of these, but natural. Au natural. Kelly Brent Moody, your ideas for a 75-gallon? Oh man, literally thousands and thousands of fish could go in a 75-gallon. So Kelly, I'm going to need you to narrow it down for me. Yeah, tell me 5 to 10 fish that you think you might want to try in a 75-gallon, and then I will help you narrow it down. But almost anything on my website could live its entire life in a 75-gallon. So, like if you want like a pet, then maybe some parrot cichlids or some puffers, like Congo spotted puffers or Amazon puffers are amazing pets. Pea puffers are great pets too. A big group of pea puffers in a 75 that's planted would be amazing. That would be so fun. So that's an option if you want like something to interact with. And then there's all kinds of just beautiful fish, anything from rainbows to dwarf cichlids to tetras to libears to a big school of cories could complement that tank. So it's just there's literally too many things for me to be able to help you until you can narrow it down with some things you're thinking of. Man, this fly, he will not go away. Kuro Works, what is your favorite live food to culture as a hobbyist breeder and as a business? I'm assuming there are different requirements. So my favorite live food is baby brine shrimp. Now, if you're hatching baby brine shrimp and then just feeding it, or you're actually culturing it, I don't know, but we find that indispensable. Every day we feed baby brine shrimp. It's convenient. It's of a size that if you like breeding fish, you can feed it to babies, and you can feed it to adult fish up to about 2 inches as well. So a wide range of small fish will eat that food. And that's the one that I think is the most convenient and the most fish can use. So convenient and yeah, and just super useful to a lot of different species. Now, if you're talking about actually culturing, then I like microworms or Walter worms or banana worms, any of those tiny little nematodes. Super easy to culture. You can do them in large numbers, and those will feed a lot of fish as well. So yeah, baby brine shrimp's my first answer. After that, well, yeah, probably the tiny little worms. And then super easy are scuds, but there's less fish that you can feed to scuds to. You can't feed them to really tiny fish. You can't feed them to babies. They'll straight up annoy plecos and cories and other fish that sit still. If you get too many scuds in the tank, they'll kind of hang on those, and that bugs those fish. So there are drawbacks to scuds, but they're super easy to culture, like very easy. Okay, scrolling up because chat jumped again. Here we go. Okay. Man, okay, getting there. Here we go. Joy72G says, it seems that pea puffers are currently unavailable. Is this a seasonal issue? Yeah, there is some seasonality to it. There's also sometimes you just sell out and the other ones haven't come through quarantine. Let's see here. Are we out of pea puffers? Oh, we are. Huh. I actually didn't realize that. Johnny, is that true, or do we have more that we need to list? But I do plan to bring pea puffers in shortly. If we're truly out, then I'll order them again. Probably early next month. We have a large import coming tonight. We have another large import coming at the end of this month. And I'm off at the Keystone Clash next week, and so probably be early September. All right. Cheryl Lynn, 1015. I found 3 strawberry Leparinas. Get them. In an LFS, but haven't seen any more since. I see you have some in stock. How big of a group would you recommend they be in? The bigger, the better. Geez. I like a 75-gallon with like 20 in there, to be honest. That's what I like. So I don't know what size tank you have, but that's a fish that the more the merrier. And what an amazing fish. I'm glad you got some. Nick Rector, seriously, folks, if you haven't seen the strawberry Leparinas, or if you've only seen washed out specimens that are stressed, okay, here's what's amazing about them. Most Leparinas get big, and they're not all that colorful. And that's fine, but they're nasty. They're mean. They shred fins. They pick on everything. They bully everything, right? The strawberry Leparinas don't do that. They're not nearly as pugnacious. They're an assertive fish, but you can keep groups of them together without them shredding each other, and you can keep them with other species without them shredding other species. At least we have, in our experience, that's worked. Now, I haven't kept them with like guppies with long veil tails or anything like that, but we've kept them with several different kinds of fish, and so far, so good. They only get, in our experience, 3 to 4 inches. I've read 6 to 7 inches in the literature, but we've had some long-term in big tanks that have constant fresh water, and they're topping it out at about 3 to 4 inches. So maybe they get 6 to 7, but even that would be small for Leparinas. But I think 3 to 4 is what I've experienced. So small, peaceful, and they're beautiful. They get, strawberry is a good name for them. They're like a light tan fish with a lot of strawberry coloring to them, and then black accents throughout the body. I think they're fantastic. I do not know why everyone doesn't have a tank of that fish in their fish room, honestly. Nick Rector, do you boil the zucchini? Nope, I'm lazy. I cut a coin out of the zucchini, I stick it on a fork, and I drop it in the tank. Or other vegetables, or just put them in raw on the fork. I put them in raw. I found that zucchini, if you coin it and the flesh is exposed, then most fish can eat that. It's fairly soft. And if it's not soft when you first put it in, within a few hours, it's kind of absorbed enough water that's got a little mushy, and then they can eat it. Jacob Messer, hey Dan. Oh, already got that one. When will you be getting Congo Tetras? I don't know. Well, we just sold out recently, but that's another one that we generally keep in stock. So that would probably be early September that we'd bring them in as well. We do have a 2-week quarantine period, so it's going to be mid to late September before they're available for sale, if we don't have any that we can relist at this time. Mountaintop Puffer Keeper, good to see you. See you entered the drawing. Good luck to you and everyone else that entered the drawing. We have 281 folks here. That's not bad. John Snow Radio, would Kochu Tetras, let's try that again. Would Kochu Tetras be large enough to safely live with redhead Tapajos? I would like them as dithers. By the way, the pencils I got from you last year have bred twice. Oh, that's awesome, John Snow. I'm glad they're breeding for you. Hashtag breeding is pleasure. I think I would stay away from Kochus with redhead Tapajos just because they don't get very deep bodied. And full-grown redhead Tapajos might be able to slurp them down. I would go with something more deep-bodied, like the Diamond Tetra. It doesn't have to be the Diamond Tetra, but something with that deep-bodied shape is what I would go for. Corey Aquatics. Hey, Dan. Hey, Corey. Hope you're having a great day. I am, but it's just getting started. It's going to be an all-nighter. I was wondering if you had any advice on breeding clown killifish and harlequin rasibors. I don't have any advice on harlequin rasibors. That's one that I haven't done a lot of. But clown killies, yes. My best advice is get yourself like a 5 to 10 gallon aquarium. Put some gravel in there. Put plants in there. Some surface plants for sure, water sprite or something on the surface. But also, okay, about half the tank should have floating plants that kind of cover half the water surface. And then plants should go down into the bottom, and it should be like a continuous thing. So maybe you have like Java moss on the bottom in a big clump that is like half the tank, and then you have water sprite or frog bit or something on the top with roots that go down into the Java moss. So you have this continuous vegetation that's pretty dense, half the tank. Little sponge filter in the corner. I would get a group. I'd get like, I don't know, 3 to 8 pairs, because the more you have in there, the more production you'll get. And I would put them in there. I'd feed them baby brine shrimp. You can feed them floating flake food and all that stuff too, but I'd feed them baby brine shrimp, and then I would start an infusoria culture or a green water culture in another container, another tank or whatever. Once the infusoria and or green water is going, then you can do a couple things. You can just start feeding green water and or infusoria along with the baby brine shrimp. The baby clownfish will be so small that it'll be good for them to eat infusoria or rotifers or green water, something smaller than baby brine shrimp for the first couple weeks. And that'll help them get a nice population of babies going in there. And you might not need to do anything else. The plants might be thick enough that enough babies get in there that they'll survive, and you'll end up with this kind of big colony which constantly reproduces. If you're not, if sometimes you see babies and then you don't anymore, and it's like, man, why are no babies coming? Then you might need to remove the adults because they might be eating the babies. But if you have enough plants and it's like half that tank is choked with plants, you're probably going to be okay. So that's my advice. That's kind of the easy way to do clown killifish. Lizzie, can we take a moment to appreciate the shrimp still on the hunt for some what is it? How do you say that? Brachium gracilrostri. Okay, so is that a Pinocchio shrimp? What is that one? Oh, no, it's not. That's like a prawn. It's like a straight up prawn. Candy striped prawn. Yeah, that is pretty. Well, I can see why you want that. That's a neat fish. Or fish. Oh, let's share it with you, shall we? I did it again. I was having a great old time and I forgot to clue you in. But anyway, look at this thing. Look at that candy striped prawn. That's a beautiful fish. Shrimp. Jeez. James Taylor. I have 4 different species of crayfish with thriving colonies in separate 300-gallon water totes. Okay. Only way I could ever feed 20-plus Shodeni puffers and Blanding's turtles. All right. Yeah, sounds like it would do it. Cora Works. If you don't hit that like, then Dancefish will take another 2 weeks before he announces new imports. By the way, Paul Soltero. Paul, if you're watching, I did remember to look to see if we have what the sex ratio is of the checkerboard cichlids. And I saw one obvious male, and the rest of the group looked like either females or males that hadn't, manifest yet. I think females, though. However, since that time, we've sold some, so now I'm not sure what's in there anymore. But I did remember to do that for you. Matt Fish, have you ever heard of adding bee pollen? Yeah. As fish food? Yes. I was giving it to my shrimps, and fish ate it. Did some reading, and I guess it can increase immunity of the fry. Yeah, so I've heard of people using it. I don't have a lot of experience with it. Years ago, I bought some and tried it, and found it to be kind of messy, and so I kind of just stopped. But it's not to say it's not good. I think the reticulated, aka spot-tail Siamese algae eater, is a way better algae eater than the regular one. Oh, that's good to know. Leo, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, all 3 of the ones that we have seem to eat algae pretty well. I think the spot-tail is the most pretty of them all. When you think Siamese algae eater, you don't think like, stunning fish. But the spot-tail has some handsomeness to it, some lemon yellow fins, that spot on the tail, and then some neat kind of black-tipped scales that contrasts with the iridescence of the scale. So it's, I would say, the most handsome of them all. Brian Gillespie, I bought 3 black tiger Daria from you, and one appears male, one appears female, and one is a solid salmon color. Any thoughts on what it might be? I'm curious if it's another species. Me too. Could you send us a picture? There are a few different baddest species. Sorry. I thought I'd kick that cold, but I didn't quite kick it. There are a few different Dario species that have been described and are rarely available. If one snuck in, that's kind of lucky in a way. But would you send us a picture? Because I'd like to see that. Spinster Sister, how are the Kohaku swords doing? They're on the mend for sure. Yeah, they're on the road. But when a fish goes through an issue like that, they had epistylis. then we really take the time before we sell them. Make sure there's no relapse, make sure that there aren't secondary infections, make sure that they're all the way back up to health before we sell them. So we take our time with that. But yeah, they're on the mend. Aquatics. Aquatics, is that how you say that? Any tips on breeding orange Venezuelan cories and false Julie cories? Yes. Decent sized groups help, because when one starts feeling frisky, they kind of spread that energy to the rest of the group. And basically feed them like crazy, like constant food in front of them. After you've done that for a week or two, if they haven't spawned, do a 50% water change. Do it when a rainstorm's on its way in. There's a low pressure front that's hit you. Big 50% water change with water that's, I don't know, 10 to 15 degrees cooler than the water that's in the tank. So that often triggers them to spawn. Corey's Aquatics. Sorry to ask another question. Well, that's what the chat's for. Don't be sorry. Ask away. I appreciate it when people are active in the chat and have questions. But I have this Cory that has pretty bad fungus on its eyelids and body gills. I've treated with Paracleanse, Maricin, and Icex. None works well. Any suggestions? I think if you have an issue with a fish and you've thrown lots of different meds at it and it hasn't got better, then I don't know what to do without actually getting it diagnosed. Because at that point, it's like, well, we've tried several different classes of medicines. Nothing has worked. You can throw different medicines at it. You could try a gram-negative medication. You could try malachite green dip and all that. But, you know, is it fungus? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's actually bacterial, or maybe it's a virus that's causing it. There can be lots of causes. And so once we've tried lots of medicines, we could try more, but medicines are not easy on a fish's system. And so do we want to put their kidneys and or liver, whichever organ metabolizes that specific medicine you're using, do we want to put that under more stress? Or are we going to blow out their, vital organs by over-medicating? So I would say if you've tried several medicines and see no improvement, if there's any way you could get that diagnosed, I think it's time to really figure out what it is before we throw medicines at it. Now, in the meantime, you can salt that fish. About 5 grams of salt per liter would help. Salt will kill plants, so be aware of that. And you don't want to just dump the salt in the tank so it hits the bottom and stays there in a hypersaline pool. That will kill the fish. You want to dissolve the salt in like a container of water, and then gradually pour that into the whatever you're keeping your sick Cory in. So if you can use salt, we've had a lot of luck with salt. Now, I'm no veterinarian, so don't take this as a prescription. Just take this as me saying, if this was my fish and I was in that situation, I think that's the next step that I would do as Dan. Me as Dan, that's what I would try. Mountaintop Puffer Keeper, my 270 project is landing later tonight. Oh, that's so exciting, Matthew. If all goes well, I'll have that tomorrow. I'll send a pic when the secret finally ends. Paulurius, now spawning here, puffer species number 3. Oh, that's awesome, man. Mountaintop, I can't wait. Jeff Pelham's Aquatics. In the future, we'll have flying cars and laser eyes. Would selling sex pairs of various paradise fish be a possibility? Yeah, that's something I would love to do. It's in the future for sure. Pretty disappointed. There's a supplier I tried. I got some cool hillstream loaches and gobies and that super neat new paradise fish. And then they've cut off communication. I've reached out a few times and they've never got back. And so, yeah, that was my basic supply for cool paradise fish. Had stuff I'd never seen anywhere else. So I'm not sure. I mean, maybe I'll reach out again, but it's been radio silence for a while and I've tried a few times. So not sure if that source dried up, or if so, why. Nabo Cub, have you ever done an aquascape or biotope in your personal hobby? Congrats on the future talk. Safe travels. Please record them. So I've done aquascapes before, for sure. I had a 90-gallon corner tank for quite a while when I was in college, and I had that aquascaped fairly nicely. I wanted that to be a nice show tank. And 90 gallons is nice because it's super tall, so you can grow a lot of stem plants up the back and really have a nice looking tank. I've never done a true biotope. I've never done a thing where like, okay, I'm going to set up a tank and I'm only going to use plants from this specific habitat and fish from this specific habitat. I've never really done that. But I like nice looking fish. I like nice looking tanks as well. But that's about the end of what's important to me. Is it the actual biotope? That project has never called me. Now, it could tomorrow. Like, sure it could, and I think they're cool when other people do them, but it hasn't called me yet. Bob Dole, what's the smallest group size you'd recommend for red neon blue eyes? I'm setting up a 15-gallon and want to keep stocking low. I mean, that's a fish that if you have a dozen, they're going to queue off each other, and there's always going to be a couple of them sparring. And so for like ultimate entertainment value, ultimate beauty, I would get a dozen or 20 in a 15-gallon. Just because that way there's always going to be some action somewhere. But this is not a fish that has to be in large groups. I think they kind of benefit from the company of others, but they're not a real tight schooling fish or anything. So I don't know. I think 3 to 6 would be the smallest I would do. I mean, one might be okay. We've definitely had tanks where one is coming as a contaminant, or we sold all but one, or an egg hatched and one grew up, and they were in there long term by themselves, and they seemed perfectly happy and didn't seem distressed or anything. So I don't think they have to have the company of others, but I think when they do get startled, I think they do seek that. Because when they do get startled, suddenly they do kind of go like, they're all just doing their own thing, and then if they're startled, they suddenly kind of go like, whoop, up in a group. So that's something to keep in mind. Adam's Electronic Universe. Is it possible to source any of the half dozen types of dwarf pygmy autos? Besides like the common autos, like a true pygmy, I don't have a good source for those. All things fish. Any chance of bringing in Cubanichthys cubanensis? Oh, I'd love to. Or Crenecthus, did I say that right? Spirulus? Cubanichthys cubensis, probably not. I don't know of anyone producing that, and I don't know of anyone in Cuba that would export that to me. But this one, yes. This is one that we can get in from time to time, and I like quite a bit. I think that's the one okay, is that, let me make sure that's true. I'm going to have to open a new window. Okay, let's go here real quick and make sure that that's the one we've had. There's a few different fish in that genus. No? Oh yeah, maybe, did I spell it wrong? One of us spelled it wrong. Yeah, that is one that I can get. I've had that one before. And for those that don't know Cubanichthys cubensis, this is basically, it's a killifish. It's basically like a pupfish looking thing. Probably is actually a pupfish technically. I'd have to double check that though. It comes out of Cuba and is just this amazing little killifish that you hardly see. I've seen them available at Killifish Club meetings once, twice. I think there was a guy in the Arizona Killifish Club that brought some to one of our meetings in Los Angeles once or twice, but that's not a fish that you see very often at all. I'd love to. If I ever saw those, Michael, I would jump on that. Single specimen in a 75 gallons, says Kelly Brent Moody. Yeah, I would get some kind of playful cichlid. I'd get a pet, like a parrot cichlid or something like that. Something with some personality. Or a puffer. I don't know. I like my dragon puffer. That's a fun fish. It's not an active fish or anything, but it's become a pet to me. It's not as interactive as others. But dragon puffer, I'm trying to think of a puffer that I think Fahaka just gets too big for a 75. So what's between what's dragon puffer size, but Fahaka puffer personality? And in my world, freshwater. Single fish, something like that. But I like the parrotfishes and those kind of a mid-sized cichlid for a pet if I wanted a single fish in that size tank. Okay, we're going to do one more, and then we're going to do the giveaway, and we're going to shut down a little early just because we've got a long night ahead of us. Survival of the Fishiest says, will the Ceylon killifish, was it Aplocylus dei, get along with the golden wonder, Aplocylus lineatus, or fear of crossbreeding? I think there's definitely a chance of hybridization there. And also the golden wonder is a lot more aggressive and assertive than the dei. So I would not keep those two fish together just because I think that the golden wonders would harass the dei constantly. All right, whew, getting through it. All right, I'm gonna end this thing. I've got an all-nighter ahead of me that I've got to get prepped for. So let's do the giveaway. This is for some Diamond Tetras. These beauties right here. And let's see here, there are 181 folks who have entered to win, and the winner is Steve Seger. You have won. Steve, you have 2 minutes to chime in. Let us know you're here because you do have to be present to win. I'm going to start a timer right now for 2 minutes. All right. So that's going. Everything's set up. I'll get to another question or comment while we're waiting. And in 2 minutes, if we haven't heard from you yet, Steve, then we'll draw somebody else. Sorry, guys. My throat's killing me right now. I feel like I've got like sandpaper back here. All right. What's another one I can respond to? So there was one I missed earlier. Oh, this isn't the one I'm thinking of, but I like this one. It's an interesting question. Jacob Metzner, how has your understanding of fish disease changed after having a veterinarian in residency? A lot. It made me realize that we know nothing, Jon Snow. Like, we thought that we had a decent handle on disease. But what we realized when we got the vet in here is that everything comes in with something. Everything. And not everything can be treated. And not everything can be treated with the standard medicines we have. So what shocked me, honestly, was just the number of fish that have something. And it's almost everything. And it just made me realize how much better we need to do as an industry to take care of our fish before we sell them. But the other thing that was awesome is with the vet, we were able to learn different medication protocols that are better than the ones that we were using, in such a way that we can now, using these protocols, treat the majority of the things that we saw because, okay, here's the thing we're seeing, here's another thing we're seeing, here's another thing we're seeing. Here's a medicine that can treat all three of those, but they have different life cycles. So if you treat in this manner, you'll get the one but not the others. But if we treat in this manner, we can get all three at once. So there, things like that we learned that have really, really helped us out. Steve is here. All right, Steve, I see you. And that is the benefit we got. So it was an eye-opener realizing how many fish come in with stuff, even when they look perfectly healthy. And it was, so that was like a, for us. Then the other thing, the advantage we got is protocols that take care of so many more things than we were doing before, just because of what we were using and how we were using it. That expertise has been invaluable. We can now do things like bring in cories and plecos and whiptails that have been collected in the wild and treat them successfully. Whereas before, we would treat and we'd be like, hey, that worked. And we'd try some again, we treat the same, not successful. It's like, oh, why? You know, same source, same everything. But this time it didn't work. Why? So a lot of what we had to do before was kind of process of elimination learning. What we were able to do with the vet is like get an actual diagnosis, see the thing, identify it, figure out its life cycle, figure out what it was sensitive to, and make direct treatment protocols. And so that has been a game changer for us. Like, our shrinkage has always been good. By shrinkage, I mean fish that we lose, either when we import them or that die in our tanks or that don't do well for our customers. It's always been very low. But now it's like so low. It feels so good. It's something that Johnny and I and the rest of the crew are really excited about. I mentioned Johnny because Johnny does the medicating, so he like firsthand, you know, that really impacts him because he's the one dealing with it directly. So yeah, having the aquatic veterinarian in residence here this summer was an absolute game changer. If anyone here is watching and you're in this industry, if you have a store or a wholesale facility or whatever, like, just if you can get an aquatic veterinarian to work with you and come in, you know, once a month even, and just work up some of your fish, it is going to absolutely change your business for the better. It's, yeah, it's, the stuff we don't know is amazing. It's like, there's a ton we don't know. And we don't even know we don't know it. And then the vet comes in and shows you the things, and you're looking at the microscope with them, and you're like, yeah, I see it. And you're looking and you find the identification, and it's like, dude, I didn't know that that was a thing that we had. It's not that we have, but that fish come in with. And like, it's just going to change everything in your business for the better. So I would highly recommend that. It's worth the expense. Think of the shrinkage that you have. And I know in most industry, in most businesses, I know it's a lot higher than what I have. So I've worked in this industry. I know what the shrinkage is. And think of that year after year after year. Just from a business angle, think of what that amounts to in lost profits. Okay? Yeah, we want to do right by the fish and all that, but forget any altruistic motive. Just think numbers. Just think business-wise. How much more would you be doing if you didn't lose the fish you're now losing? And if you could cut that down to a fraction of what it is now. Over the years, that's a huge number. So to me, it is totally worth any expense to figure that out, because that's going to pay dividends from now till the end of time. So yeah, it was awesome. And by the way, to that veterinarian, thank you. You're amazing, and I can't wait to see you again. All right. With that, Steve is here. Steve, to claim your winnings, email us at hello@dansfish.com. That's HELLO@dansfish.com. We need your first name, your last name, and your mailing address so we know where we're sending it, who we're sending it to, and then we'll get once we get the email, we'll get a shipping plan together and figure out when to send those to you. All right, with that, I'm going to shut this down. I want to thank my moderators for being here. Oh, I also want to remind everybody that I'll be at the Keystone Clash along with some awesome other folks who are also speaking and a bunch of fish nerds that'll be gathering. It's going to be just awesome all around this coming weekend, the 22nd through the 24th. So if you're in the area, I'd love to see you there. All right, thank the moderators. I want to thank the members of the Fishmonger crew. Really appreciate you being a member of this channel. Thanks to everyone that threw money at us in the chat. Thanks for the super chats. If you were active in the chat and asked questions and made this lively, appreciate that. If you're lurking, I lurk all the time, so hail the Lurker Nation. If you're watching on the replay, hello from the past, and if you are listening on the podcast, I'm like 24 podcasts behind right now. Got to get those loaded. But if you are listening, if at some point in the future I get them posted, then thanks for listening. All right. I think we'll be back next week. If not, just know it's because getting ready to travel for the Keystone Clash. And yeah, till next time, I hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.